I have a new hobby now. Apples. That's it. I mean, can you blame me? Apples are so cool. You can eat them, drink them, plant them, look at them, play basketball, put them in pancakes. Maybe not that last one, but they're fun. I like them and I'm going to enjoy them. And the best part is, there's nothing you can do to stop me. Well, my newfound Apple obsession has sort of ruined my ability to think clearly. I don't really know what I want to talk about today. I can really only think of how cool apples are. Did you know apples grow on trees? Isn't that so cool? How do they do that? Did you know apples are plants? And we just eat them! We just put plants right into our stomachs! Is that nuts? Or... Did you know that apples invented gravity? We would've got something!
Gravity Rush is a game that released in 2012 for the PlayStation Vita. It was brought to us by Keiichiro Toyama, who's best known for his work on a couple entries in the Siren series.
The what?
A much more well-known game from him is the first Silent Hill game, but regardless, prior to Gravity Rush, he really only had worked in the horror genre. He's the perfect candidate for a lighthearted action game about gravity superheroes. Actually, it was Toyama himself that pitched the idea to Sony because he wanted to show that he could make more than just horror games. And so, in 2008, Gravity Rush officially entered production for the PlayStation 3. However, the development team soon realized that the game they wanted to make was going to be way too ambitious for the PlayStation 3, so they decided to switch over to Sony's upcoming new handheld, the PlayStation Vita.
Because that makes sense. If the console isn't powerful enough to run your game, just move to the handheld. That's just as, if not less powerful than the console. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so it was a small nightmare getting the game to run on the Vita, but in 2011, the game was mostly ready and just needed a bit of fine-tuning. And so, Gravity Rush released for the PlayStation Vita on February 9th, 2012 in Japan, and early June everywhere else. Nobody bought it. I mean, it's kind of hard to buy a game for a system that half the population of the planet doesn't even know exists.
The PlayStation Vita really didn't sell all that well. It ended up getting less and less support from third parties, and as a result suffered from a lack of variety in software. Couple that with the fact that Sony really didn't advertise Gravity Rush all that much, and you've got yourself a game that did okay. Oh, this is a PlayStation Portable, not a Vita. What, you actually think I bought one of those things? Why else would I have that certificate?
Fortunately, Gravity Rush would get a second chance on the PlayStation 4 in the form of Gravity Rush Remastered in early 2016. They still barely advertised it, and the physical version was only available in limited quantities exclusively on Amazon. You know, the only reason Gravity Rush got a remaster was to reach a wider audience.
And yet, whenever I try to look up Gravity Rush on Google, it gives me no search results, followed up by my laptop exploding. You know, it's kind of a bummer this game was really never given that much attention. Because hot damn is it good!
Look at this and tell me this doesn't look like the coolest, most funnest gameplay you've ever seen anywhere. The main gameplay gimmick of Gravity Rush is that the main character, Cat, has complete control over gravity. You can go sideways, upways, downways, leftways, rightways, frontways, backways, and any other conceivable ways. Just give that R1 button a tap and suddenly you give a big f*** you to Isaac Newton and are then able to fall in whatever direction you're facing. Now, this sounds like it would make for a great collectathon game, using your gravity powers to reach secret areas and explore the giant open world, or maybe a puzzle game, using your gravity shifting to solve puzzles and find creative solutions to challenges, or combat. Exclusively combat. How does that sound? I mean, it's not the direction I would have gone, but hey, it works. The main gameplay of Gravity Rush sees you kicking the piss out of the Nevi. I would try and explain to you what they are, but no explanation is ever given for them. They're just the Nevi. And when I say kicking the piss, I mean kicking. Cat has a basic attack combo when she's on the ground consisting of exclusively kicks. It's completely worthless. It's slow and boring, it barely does any damage at all. The main attack you're going to be using is the gravity kick. When shifting gravity, if you press the square button, Cat will lock onto a nearby enemy and fling herself at it to plant a nice, firm kick. You still have to aim at enemies, of course, but Cat will auto-adjust to hit it if you're just a little bit off. You can actually use motion controls to aim, and it feels really good. Similar to how using motion controls to aim in Breath of the Wild feels really good too. But the gravity kick is really all you're going to be using here. There are a couple other attacks, like you can pick up objects with your stasis field and throw them at enemies, but it's pretty situational. You have to be near something you can pick up, which there might not be a lot of, and even still, picking stuff up is pretty slow, and if you get hit while you're carrying something, you'll drop it. There's also a couple special attacks that actually do a fair amount of damage and can hit a lot of enemies, but once you use one, you have to wait for it to charge back up again. So really, you'll just stick with the gravity kick for most of the game. It's fast, it's easy to use, and it does a decent amount of damage.
Now, I know I just made it sound like I f***ing despise the combat in this game, but I really don't. It's pretty satisfying, and it's a lot of fun. It may be pretty basic, but flying all over the place and ramming into everything is pretty entertaining.
Now, outside of combat, there are still some things to do. You can hunt down the precious gems, which are scattered all over the different areas. These are used to upgrade your abilities, stuff like getting more health, dealing more damage, increasing the time you can shift gravity for, nothing that special. They're not particularly challenging to find either, but they do incentivize exploring the different districts if you want to get fully upgraded, which in and of itself is not really that hard. I mean, if you just grab the gems you see and do a few of the mini challenges, you'll get plenty of gems. By the end of my first playthrough, I got fully upgraded and have thousands of gems left over. Granted, I got 100%, but still, I had way more gems than I knew what to do with. Because the gems come back when you progress the story, and they get scaled up in value based on how far into the story you are. But even still, they are pretty satisfying to collect, and even just flying around is a lot of fun. You don't even need a reason to fly around, it's just really cool. And then there's the mini challenges scattered around the world. They're fine. Nothing too awful crazy, stuff like kill a bunch of enemies, hit all these checkpoints in a certain amount of time, or a variation of either of those things where you can only use one of your abilities. They're nothing special, and they can get kinda repetitive, but hey, it's something else to do. Also, there are some side quests that launched as DLC on the PlayStation Vita version of the game that came included with the remastered version that just have you play out little side stories. And they're fine. They mainly just consist of random fetch quests, except you get to wear funny clothes. They're okay, kind of cute the first time you play them, but I really wasn't jumping at the chance to ever play them again.
Wait, aren't I supposed to like this game?
Okay, I know I've kind of been making it sound like Gravity Rush is super monotonous and not very fun, and as a result it sounds like I hate it, but I really do like it. I'm just willing to point out where it comes up short. But still, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Sure, the combat may be a little repetitive, and there might not be a lot to do outside of that, but it's still really fun. When fighting, each hit feels more satisfying to hit than the last, and flying around just feels so awesome!
Okay, now here comes the obligatory segment where I try to explain the plot, and I would give a spoiler warning, but I've already read through this thing like 3 times and I still don't understand.
Okay, so, apples, right?
Gotta love them!
You know, we wouldn't have gravity without apples, and without gravity, we wouldn't have a need for a game about changing gravity.
You know, I've played this game like 3 times and I just put that connection together. It's cute.
Anyway, so apples do what apples do best and fall. And survive a drop from miles up without a single bruise. Holy shit, that is one sturdy-ass apple. Okay, so then we meet Cat, who suffers from the classic protagonist trope of conveniently forgetting all of the important stuff about herself. Amnesia. And there's also a cat. No, I mean like an actual cat. The girl's name is Cat, and there's also an animal cat.
You following? Good, because this is the least confusing part.
So some old guy asked Cat to save his kid who's been caught in a gravity storm, which is basically a tornado on steroids and also red. It's at this moment that Cat realizes the cat gives her the superpower of being able to change her gravity. So she goes to save the old man's kid and then accidentally drops their house. So the old man and the kid get understandably upset at her, so Cat just runs away. And then Cat comes to the realization that the city she's in is suspended way up in the air connected to a giant pillar. With nothing better to do, Cat decides to help out the townspeople with their gravity superpowers, and she also decides to live in the sewers.
Like you wouldn't do that if you woke up with amnesia in a floating city.
Cat runs into a police officer named Sid, who she helps protect the town's sacred gem from a villain named Alias, whose outfit comprises of a business suit and a stupid bowling ball mask. Except, whoops! Alias disguises himself as Sid, and Kat ends up giving the sacred gem to him by accident.
No, but he has a stupid bowling ball mask.
So then, Kat talks to a fortune teller who tells her she's going to meet a man that will change her destiny. Then she goes into a magic hole in the wall that just magically appears. Then she meets the creator of the world, who then proceeds to stick her in another dimension that happens to contain a part of the city that got swept up in a gravity storm, which she then proceeds to bring back by following magic flowers and kicking the piss out of a giant Nevi.
You know what? I'm fine. This isn't even that bad.
So after bringing back part of the city, Kat gets jumped by another gravity shifter named Raven, who thinks Kat's a terrible person and is ruining everything.
Oh no, I'm reuniting families and letting people go to different districts again and generally improving everybody's life. What a disaster. Bitch.
So Kat runs away again? I don't understand. She keeps leaving in the middle of whatever's going on. So Kat continues to bring back more parts of the city by traveling to different alternate dimensions and kicking the piss out of some more giant Nevi. Kat then has to fight Alias for real this time, who turns himself into a giant dragon, and then after destroying the dragon part, Kat accidentally pushes Alias into a trash compactor where he's brutally crushed to death.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Then she just walks away, super casual. That she didn't just brutally murder a man. What are you talking about? And the best part is, Kat gets asked to join the military because they're perfectly fine that she just turned Alias into a human pancake.
Would you like some apples with that?
I'm sorry, but it just bothers me so much how little people care about this. Anyways, Kat ends up traveling down the giant pillar that holds up the city to retrieve a letter for some girl from her boyfriend. And instead of stopping and going back up when she can't find it, Kat just decides to keep going. What makes you think it's going to be down this far? Is there anything that is going to make this worth it?
Yeah, there's not.
Kat gets attacked by Raven again, who was presumed to be killed during a previous fight. But anyways, during their fight, the two realize that the giant gravity storm at the bottom of the pillar is actually rising, when suddenly they get attacked by a giant Nevi and get knocked out. When Kat wakes up, she finds herself in a town run entirely by children, who got here because a school bus they were riding in fell off a cliff. After a bit of back and forth with the kids and a begrudging reconciliation with Raven, Kat, with Raven's help, ends up destroying the giant Nevi that was terrorizing the children, which was also the same giant Nevi that attacked Kat and Raven earlier. And then it's revealed that one of the kids is also a creator who pulls Kat into an alternate dimension where she ends up learning about her past.
Nope. I'm fine. Still fine.
So then, Kat and Raven activate a giant stone chicken and put all the kids in it to fly them back to the city. Except the giant Nevi Kat and Raven killed earlier didn't actually die and knocks Kat off the giant stone chicken, leaving her to climb back up the pillar herself. When she gets back up to the city, she finds that an entire year has passed and the military has taken control of the government because apparently the farther you move down the pillar, the slower time moves.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So it turns out that the military has developed a weapon to destroy the Nevi once and for all.
Ooh, a super weapon designed to do good, created by a nefarious scientist with the goal of bettering humanity. I wonder what's gonna happen.
Kat saves the day. Raven shows up with a giant stone chicken with all the kids on board who have been put into a deep sleep. Everyone praises Kat as the greatest hero ever or whatever. Credits.
Alright, you know what? I'm gonna need to read through that again. I still don't get it.
The plot of Gravity Rush is absolutely insane when you try to explain it to someone without context. Surprisingly enough, the story actually kind of makes sense when you're playing the game. I mean, it's still pretty wild, and there is a strangely large amount of loose ends that probably should have been tied up by the end of the game. But overall, the story is pretty interesting. That's probably because the game's setting is so cool, and there are also a lot of interesting character.
Every single side character in this game sucks.
I absolutely love Kat. She's so cheery and lighthearted, and it's just so much fun. But she's also ready for action when she needs to be, and half the time she doesn't even understand what's going on, but she's still ready to jump into action and have fun while doing it, and I love that. She's like one of my favorite gaming protagonists ever. And every other character in this game is either boring, lame, uninteresting, or Raven. You see, I like Raven. She gets a nice redemption arc at the end of the game, and her motives get explained and all that, but she still barely does anything. And all the other characters are just plain boring. I'm sorry to all the other characters I don't even remember the name of fans out there, but the side characters in this game really don't do anything or have anything interesting to say, and I stopped caring as soon as they started talking. The star of the show here is Kat, and she's absolutely perfect. I honestly don't know if I would like this game as much if I didn't like Kat.
Which brings us back to the age-old question. Do I like Gravity Rush? Yes, absolutely.
There are a lot of problems I have with Gravity Rush. The combat can be kind of repetitive and boring, and the decision to focus on it was weird to say the least. The story is batshit insane and goes all over the place, the side characters are boring, and the game ends with a lot of unanswered questions. And despite all these problems, I adore Gravity Rush. It's such a charming little game, it's got a unique premise, the main gameplay gimmick is so fucking rad and has so much more places to grow. The combat, while it can be repetitive, is still really satisfying. The art style is so cool, where things in the distance are just a few colors and an outline like a comic book, and the whole game is presented like a comic book too, which is super cool and really sets it apart from anything else I've ever played. The music is, oh my god, the music is phenomenal. I love the town themes, I love the battle themes, I love the rift plane themes, I especially love the main theme. It actually sounds like the theme of a superhero movie, further pushing that comic book motif. It's so cool!
And isn't that what makes a good game? Something that, even though it has a lot of problems, you still love it to death? Something that you can look past all the problems and still really enjoy the game? Because as much as I talked about all the problems in Gravity Rush, in the grand scheme of things, they're not really that big of a deal. You don't have to do any of the mini challenges or the side quests or go hunting for gems or get fully upgraded, even though it's really easy if you don't want to. And the insane story is honestly kind of fun to get pulled through. And the fact that the game manages to stay interesting in spite of all of its problems just goes to show how good of a game it really is. Gravity Rush is a wholly unique experience you can't really find anywhere else, and I cannot recommend it enough. Well, I got that out of my system. Time to go back to talking about how cool apples are again. Did you know that apples can be different colors? Did you know that apples have these tiny sticks at the top that don't taste very good? Did you know you could buy apples at the grocery store? Did you know that you could hold an apple in just one hand? Did you know that the modern apple has 17 chromosomes, which are found to be derived from an ancestor with 9 chromosomes that experienced genome-wide duplication, and that the genome sequence also provided proof that Malus was a wild ancestor of the modern apple, an issue that was long debated in the scientific community? Did you know apples exist?